think that's the one, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, I know polyester. I know
So,
polyester.
so I don't think we have to step out of our lives to be magical anymore. I mean, walking down the street, I would not have cast you for, one of the leading witches around.
Is that right? The very first INATs I did, one of the book publishers, wasn't anybody I was writing for, but I said, Dorothy, I don't get it. Well, to start with, one of my friends who was an author told me that my corporate image was not going to cut it at the International English Trade Show. That I really shouldn't do the business suit, the business suit route with my heels and so on and so forth. So, I'm thinking about this. Oh, and I had to have some rose quartz on. Well, to start with, I'm a gold person. I don't really like silver much, and I don't like pink.
You don't like pink?
Neither
do I.
Just hate it. And so, I don't give a damn how wonderful rose quartz is. I'm not going to wear it. Ain't going to happen. So I think about this, and I do incorporate a little silver. And at the last minute, I think, screw it, I am who I am. And I'm a brand new author. So, I packed my corporate America stuff, and off I go. I'm sitting at the bar, waiting for it to be time so I can check into my room. And you've got all these new agers sitting in there. and I order a shot of Chivas. And I'm sitting there, and got all these little new agers drinking their little fruity drinks, And I'm watching them. And so, finally, one of them said something, and I kind of joined in the conversation and introduced myself. And this crazy woman who owned a store in Denver said, oh my God, you can't possibly be Dorothy Morrison, la 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 la. And I said, really? Why is that? She says, well, you wear gold. It was a nasty word. And I looked at her, and I said, I guess I'm mistaken, but I thought the New Age gave me the right to be who I am, the license to be who I am, not whom you expect me to be. I don't think that, that I need to be ruled by your expectations. Really sorry. So, then, the weekend goes on, everything's cool. This publisher and I are talking, and he says, Dorothy says, I don't get it. He said, everybody else here is running around in India gauze, floating India gauze, and barefoot, with bells on their toes and stuff, and you're walking around in a Chanel suit and heels. And he said, so what's the deal? I said, buddy, I want you to think about this long and hard. Who are they going to remember? They're not going to remember any of those fools running around in India gauze. They're going to remember me because I'm different. And he grinned. He was an old man. It was one of the Weiser brothers.
Okay.
He's dead now. And he grinned and he said, you know what, honey, you're pretty sharp cook. He said, I just wanted to know if you realized what you've done. I said, oh yeah. It was a conscious effort. And so, yeah, that's been the whole thing. I don't think in order to be magical, you need to look like an idiot. I think it's important for you to be a mainstream person who, I think if you appear to be responsible, you begin to become responsible.
It's very, very excellent. Oftentimes, because the kind of pentacle I wear is one that's reversed.
Yeah.
And I wear it most often with my pentacle facing me that no one else can see, because it's up to me. It's up to me to know that's who I am. It's not for the rest of the world to know, because if it doesn't show in my actions and it doesn't show in my way of life, then it just does not exist, and no one's going to be enrolled in that. Because the image that people have of occultists and the spiritual underground is that, well, I mean, if your magic all works, then why are you living in your parents' house and you don't have a car or a job?
But you know what? Exactly.
And I have wanted to call people out on this stuff when I first entered the magical community. And all of a sudden I meet people who are freeloaders. They don't have jobs. They go into circle just to absorb everybody else's energy and leave.
Honey, 35 years ago, okay, you would not have been able to live around the pagan community that long ago. Okay? It was like nobody, to start with. I don't know who their mamas were, but they didn't teach you anything about personal hygiene. Okay? I don't think any of them owned a toothbrush or owned deodorant or any of that.
Well, that was
And
definitely
nobody,
too far away from the
and
guy.
nobody had car insurance in their own name. Now I got to tell you, today I'm much prouder of the pagan community because most people at least have car insurance in their own name, you know. But so we have made strides. But you're right. One of the things that irritates me the most, I think, which is why, you know, I harp about money magic a lot, because a lot of, you know, when you have the tools to make your life better and you don't use them to start with, I think that's a slap in the face of the gods. It's like, oh, you gave me these gifts, but it's not good enough. Sorry. And now you expect the gods to help you? I don't think so. The other thing is, a lot of people say, oh my God, can't possibly do money magic. What if Uncle Fred dies and, you know, and I'm the beneficiary? Well, to start with, I want to see the money spell that I can use as a murder weapon, because there's some people that need a good killing. Perfect, okay? I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of. To start with, even if you are Uncle Fred's beneficiary, he didn't change his will with his dying breath. So, you know, you did not have the power to take 1 minute away from his life. So, and certainly not with money spell. So, you know, this kind of thing, or if I help myself, I'll lose my power. What kind of shit is that?
That's called,
That's an excuse.
You know, I think
Yes.
that rips from a lot of what people are taught in 101 type of courses that people learn from the first beginning. And they learn about witches and about a different version of a witch as opposed to the one that's in the Christian Bible. And I find it's interesting.
the nicer gentler witch.
Yeah,
that
they sugarcoat it a little.
it makes sense what you're saying, because a lot of people are led to believe that by doing magic, that is considered personal gain.
Well, to start with, you know, I think what has amazed me and surprised me is that and this has gotten, I think, increasingly worse as time's gone by. I think that people are so afraid that others are coming into Wicca for the power that they refuse to let them work magic. Now, here's the deal. You know, they refused to let me work magic too. I remember that. And to start with,
You actually learned from somebody?
magic is, yeah, well, school of hard knocks here. Magic is the same to Wicca as prayer is to Christianity, and it's a byproduct. And if the two don't dance together, something's going to fall flat. It's like dance partners. But oh no, you know, we mustn't do that. You can't work magic for a year. Well, you know, it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because to start with, it's like telling kids don't have sex. They're gonna, and so you may as well have a drawer of condoms and tell them to double load. I mean, because this is going to happen. So, you know, says you need to be a realist about this. Students are going to work magic. I did. I screwed up some big time things. Oh my God. And I couldn't tell anybody because I wasn't supposed to do it. As a result, I had to learn how to fix it. A couple of things took me better than a year to fix. And it was trial and error. How do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do that? But those lessons that you buy, you know, you learn them, you don't repeat those errors again. And so, you know, but I think that's the problem. They want to scare you to death about doing magic. And so my thing is for people now is, for God's sake, and then they try to tell you, oh my God, if you do magic and you screw up, I'm going to get the karmic backlash. But that's bullshit.
Right.
It ain't going to happen.
See, that's why I understand.
That's like the sins of the Father being visited on the Son. That's crap, you know?
With me, it's actually been the opposite. It seems like when I just learned and I just stepped into it, I was a lot better off than I am now. In other words, it seems like being the pupil, if you will, for lack of better words, and just doing it, and not knowing supposedly the so-called consequences of whatever, it worked.
Of course.
As soon as I started reading and learning more about how and who you can affect with it all went to hell.
Okay, but you know what? Here's the deal. There is no such thing as non-manipulative magic. There's no such thing, okay? You know, every single magical effort is going to affect someone, and it's going to manipulate something. If you work magic to help you get a job, Well, that magic has helped your resume to get on
the
top here. So some poor bastard is losing out because now they're looking at your resume. Okay, so you manipulated that. Okay, if you do money magic and you find money in the street, well, guess what? Some poor bastard lost that, but I advise you not to grab that up and say, did anybody lose this? Because I can promise you 300 people in a 5-block radius,
Oh,
they all
Lord,
lost
you know, I
it.
did that once. I was
my God.
really young. There was a lot of money on the ground in the mall, and I picked it up, and somebody was like 4 steps away, and I picked it up and I go, excuse me, I think you dropped the. Yeah. And they went, of course I did. And it went, yeah.
Everything is manipulative. Everything.
I'm not like that.
You know, people think world peace would be such a great thing. But you know what?
Bad.
There would be dire consequences that come along with world peace. People there would be millions of jobs lost.
Right.
Okay? You know, there would be people who were hungry. There'd be homeless people. I mean, there are all kinds of things, consequences that people don't think about. It sounds good, but you always have to look at the big picture.
Right.
Would it make you feel better if you knew that there's no God up there whose sole job is to hand out karma cookies? Okay? Trust me, there's not.
So, you know, all this goes back to, for me, to a couple of conspiracy theories. And sometimes I love a good conspiracy theory. Pre-Roman Catholic, Christianity was this underground, kind of like paganism, it was this underground religion that was very socialist, very socialist. It was about everything being equal and balanced out. Then the Romans got a hold of it. And the Bibles and you know, there's a lot of books in the Bible that we've never seen. There's, I think the number I got
I think
from
Plymouth is the one who decided which ones weren't supposed to go in.
Exactly. So they all had to follow a certain thing. And what the lesson was that they wanted to tell you, to control you, because the Roman Catholic Church is a power. And at that point, it was the biggest power, and for centuries, it was the biggest power. And how do you maintain power? Is you convince everybody underneath you don't have any, right? So there's always been a ruling class. Whether we think there's a ruling class, there still is a ruling class. Going with the conspiracy theory. So now let's fast forward a little bit, and let's look at the formation of the United States. It's very much a class system hidden within other things. And even our current school system was, the development of it was funded by Rockefeller to create workers, not to create free thinkers. Because the Jeffersonian system of school, and only the privileged few could go there, was created free thinkers. So our school system that most of us went through, we had to learn to memorize, to wait in line, to be patient, to wait our turn, to stay in our class. So
Because you know, no one will pay you to think.
no, right. So if you look at all these levels, so of course, by the time we start to find our own power and start to move in that direction, the first thing we have to do is make it a little bit okay. So this is kind of like when you don't do spells for yourself, that whole culture and that whole way of thinking. And then when you finally break out of that, your life changes. It's very much an evolutionary step when you finally break out of that, because we have been trained for generations through many cultures all around the world. I mean, and that's where a lot of this war is coming from, is people decide they want to break out of that class system and they want something better, and that's why we're the evil infidels over here. That's the part of the process of we're breaking out of it. That's the evolution. And sometimes some people aren't ready. They're still in that, they haven't broken free of that collective consciousness.